I think so few times do we actually talk about maybe the financial side of dental. Today, I've got Ryan Isaac. He is the co-founder and the senior financial advisor at Dentist Advisors and the host of the Dentist Money Show.
It's something we created specifically for dentists, not anybody else, to track and measure and benchmark their financial health and progress as they move throughout their career. This exact question, which is, when do I have enough wealth to be totally done working? And this is the least sexy part of personal finance, but personal spending is everything in retirement planning. The less we need to live on, I just think the happier we are and the easier it is to hit that number. A lot of those dentists are bored, they're burned out, somewhere in their 40s, and it's easy to get distracted to start chasing things that can derail financial progress and almost ruin net worth, like sometimes indefinitely.
How much money does a dentist need to have in the bank to retire comfortably? What do you think is one financial myth, if there is one in dentistry, that just won't die?
Okay. This might be controversial, so this is good for marketing.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the No BS Dental Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Pistorius. Today, I'm really excited because we have a really cool guest that I think is going to be able to help a lot of you because, I think so few times do we actually talk about maybe the financial side of dental. We always talk about growing and everybody wants to grow, but, obviously there's some pretty extreme financial things that you have to think about as you're growing your practice and what that looks like. So today I've got Ryan Isaac. He is the co-founder and the senior financial advisor at Dentist Advisors and the host of the Dentist Money Show. So definitely check that out. He's got some good episodes out there. Ryan's a certified financial planner dedicated exclusively in the dental industry. So we're talking dentists, orthodontists, oral surgeons, kind of the same niche as, kind of I am with Kickstart. But Ryan really helps in specializing in helping dental practices, manage complex financial decisions, everything from like reducing debt. You guys talked to me a lot about that. Navigating insurances. I mean, that's crazy business right there. Optimizing taxes. That's a full-time job right there, just trying to figure that out. But he's also a regular keynote speaker at dental industry events nationwide. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So, Ryan, hopefully most of that introduction was correct. And thanks so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. I think that's mostly correct. When you've been in something for a long time, you're like, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's about right,
so
man. Thanks for having me.
We were talking about in the pre-show, 18 years. Is that right for you?
Yeah, I start my 18th year in this business, which is where I began in financial services and in the dental industry. And that's where we began with Reese Harper, was the founder of the company, and him and I, it feels like a million years ago, started this thing up. Yeah, it's been like you, man. It's been a long run. We've seen a lot of evolution of the dental industry over that time. It's kind of cool to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you bring a really good, unique perspective to our audience here. And it's been a while since we've covered anything on the show, kind of financially related. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day roles, what you do, how you help, and, some common things that you see out there.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with, I think maybe two things. One would be a data point, and the data point comes from the ADA. They publish this every handful of years, so this one is a couple years old. But the average age of dentists when they retire, do you know what it is? Any guesses?
I would guess in the 60s, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's getting up there. It's at almost 70 years old now. Okay. And the average age of the average American retiring is 62.
Interesting.
There's a lot of reasons for those things. So I'll say that, and then I'll say the next thing, which is the biggest question we always get around, like, what's the biggest mistake dentists make financially? And I think these go hand in hand. The way we answer that question over the years is we would just say that dentists have very complex, busy lives. They have a million things going on,
Yeah.
And ironically or not, the more successful they become, the less time they have to get to everything. So as they
Mm.
accomplish all their goals and they get the money and the practices and the profitability, they just have less and less time on their hands to get to everything. And what ends up happening is dentists typically will just have so much going on. They end up kind of financially unorganized.
Yeah.
They end up
Is that kind of
making,
like trading time for money in a sense?
yeah, I mean, you do. It's like a teeter totter. You start out a career and all you have is time and no money, and
Yeah.
then as your career goes, you're like, oh, now I got the money and the success, and now I just have like no time to do anything, let alone, like your own life and hobbies. And so that kind of
Yeah.
combination of busy time constraints, a lot of complex things dentists have to deal with that they weren't trained to deal with, or work on in school,
Yeah.
can kind of cause just a lack of financial progress or big financial mistakes, which is one of the reasons, not the only reason, it's one of the reasons why dentists end up retiring later than a lot of them would like to.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, our job is to help dentists make smart financial decisions, avoid big mistakes along the way, be super organized, and give accountability to just staying on track to you know making their goals and making sure their values align with their money decisions.
Yeah. So let me ask you, if you're a dentist and say they're 50s, right?
Mm.
And they're kind of like looking around like, oh man, how did this happen? Right. And, last they looked, they were like 35 and just kind of getting started. But now they're looking at their bank accounts and you're like, I haven't planned well enough. Is it,
Yeah.
at that late age, is it too late? What can be
Mm-mm.
done? Is that something you also help specialize in?
Yeah, I would say, so over 18 years, we're all over the country. I was telling you earlier, we work with over 600 dentists. We're getting close to the 700 client mark. And bread and butter for us are, mostly practice owners in their 40s. And that's a
Mhm.
very common scenario as they get into their 50s. Is it too late? No. Dentists luckily have the opportunity to make quite a bit of money in short amounts of time, although people listening might feel like it takes forever, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Um, they also have the opportunity to build, significant assets through a practice. Um, there's opportunity, but it doesn't come without sacrifice. It doesn't come without a plan. Like you got to just anytime you're trying to make a big change in your life and you're really trying to push it, you need a plan and you need accountability to stick to that plan. It's not a dental issue, it's a human issue. We just don't
Mhm.
stick to things very well very long. We just don't. And so
Yeah.
whether it's health or fitness or finance, like you got to just have someone in your corner to check in with, hold you accountable, remind you of your goals, and keep things moving along, So no, it's not too late. And yes, we
Yeah.
deal and work with that exact scenario all the time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the opposite side of the spectrum. The new folks out there, the new
Yeah.
graduates getting into dentistry.
Yeah.
Obviously everybody, no matter what industry you're in, they say, start early, start early, start early. So talk to me about that. Is it any different with dental grads? Should they start now, be aggressive, go
Mm.
slower? What do you think?
Yeah, so I'll say about it's between 20 and 25% of our client base now are non-practice owners, earlier in career associates.
Mm, yeah.
And that's grown a lot. It used to be much, much smaller for us. I still think dental is an extremely lucrative career with a ton of opportunities, probably more opportunities than ever before, just because of there's so many different kinds of business models out there. Dentistry has always been an industry fueled by like unlimited easy financing. So,
Yeah.
which is rare. I mean, you probably know this in your business and in ours.
Yeah.
In most industries, you can't just go to a bank and get a huge loan to run your business,
Right.
or grow. Like it doesn't exist. And so that, access to capital, I still do believe it overcomes the huge student loan debt that most the new grads are in now, the taxes dentists pay, the big spending. Yeah, so you coming into your career, I think it's really important to get as much experience as you can as an associate to figure out where do you want to live, because that
Yeah.
matters. What kind of practice do you want to be in? And I do still believe that private practice ownership is the most viable, lucrative model in dentistry. And I think that's where most people should be headed. Now, not everyone is cut out to be an owner or should be, and that's great too. There's a lot
Yeah.
of very fulfilling, amazing, well-paying, associate jobs
Yeah.
as career associates. But yeah, hit the
Yeah.
ground running and get the help in your corner, get started, get fast. I think that's really like build up your skill set as a
Yeah.
dentist, shadow, have a mentor, dive in and learn, work a lot, work a ton. Don't expect to have a 3-day work week when you're just fresh out of school.
Yep.
Grind for a while. Like but I think it's totally worth it still.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What specifically do you guys do? Like, say, in a situation, how do you help a dentist, no matter the age, I guess, turn kind of their clinical career into long-term wealth and equity? What are some things that you really focus on?
Yeah. There's a few different pieces to a dentist balance sheet. One of the biggest pieces on a dentist balance sheet will be the practice that they own. Always. It will be the most important investment, probably the most lucrative investment from a cash flow standpoint. That practice is the engine to everything, all the wealth dentists will ever
Yeah,
build for the
yeah,
most part. So our focus is always to help them prioritize whatever it's going to take to build a successful practice, to be liquid, to have good profitability, to have good teams, good training, like whatever it's going to take to have the resources to build that asset. And then it's kind of, like our grandma's boring financial advice, but you have to take your income and you have to save it.
yeah,
You
right,
can't spend it all. So you just have to take money. There has to be money left over at some point. I know in the beginning that's not always the case. You
right,
you got to have money left over, and you got to put it somewhere that's going to grow and be untouched for many years. And that can be a lot of things, but that's the main principle. So much easier said than done. But our job is to step in, and there's dozens and dozens of things that have to be paid attention to and organized and tracked and monitored to make sure that your practice is profitable and you
yeah.
have money left over, and then it goes somewhere and grows. Those are easy things to say, but they're tedious to do, and they take a while. But that's our job,
Yep.
help them make smart financial decisions and grow their wealth safely.
That's right. There's things that I think make sense to outsource and get help with, and then there's things that maybe not. But
Yeah.
I think financial planning is definitely part of that.
Hmm.
I do it myself. I have a financial planner, and because I'm not, I don't have the time, I don't have the experience, right?
Hmm.
And I just feel better at the end of the day making sure that's taken care of by somebody that actually knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
So
and spends their whole day doing it too.
exactly. I mean, I
Yeah,
just go
and
buy a bunch of Bitcoin and call it good, right? What
and
could
you're
go
like, that's
wrong?
it. What could go wrong? A lot could go right. You don't know. You
Yeah,
have no
right. I
idea.
know. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Might as well
yeah,
just
you're
go to
totally.
Vegas and put it on black, right?
It's worked for some people, I'm sure.
It
Yeah,
has. It
you're right.
has.
There's a lot of technical things with money and financial planning and investing, and there's a lot of technical things that people do get wrong, and it's very detrimental. And also, again, this isn't the sexiest thing in the world, but probably the most beneficial thing long term isn't picking mutual funds. It's not what life insurance policy to buy. Um, it's sticking to something. And again,
Mm,
as humans, we get greedy, we get scared, we chase the new shiny thing, we get bored, we get burnt out, whatever the reason, we don't stick on a path very long often.
right.
And it's that constant distraction. And dentists, I think, are really susceptible to it because they have high cash flow, high incomes, and there's always just people in their ears saying like, buy this, do this, invest in this. It's really, really easy to get distracted, especially I really find it's ironic. Mid-career, you're hitting your stride, you're hitting peak success, money, cash flow, debts are getting paid off, you got lots of money left over. A lot of those dentists are bored, they're burned out, somewhere in their 40s, and it's easy to get distracted and start chasing things that can derail financial progress and almost ruin net worth, like sometimes
Yeah.
indefinitely. So
Yeah.
yeah, outsourcing to an advisor is just really nailing the technical things, but then being held accountable to it for long periods of time and not
Yeah, and
deviating.
working only in the dental niche helps you a bunch because you
Yeah,
know
that's
like
all
what
we know.
others are doing. Like with me with marketing, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's all we do, and we're
Yeah.
basing it off of experience from, 16 years of doing this,
Yeah.
right? Well,
If
you've
someone
got the
asks you a
same thing.
question, you're like, have you seen this before? You're like, yeah, I've seen this before. And
Yep.
there's always gonna be something new, but you know where to go to find the answer because you only know one niche, one industry. That's how it's been for us the whole time.
Yep, exactly. I did reach out to some folks before this, and they gave me a couple of questions to ask you.
Okay.
So,
All right. Was
one
it
of
our
them
team?
here,
Was it our team? And these are like
yeah,
underhanded softballs.
they're like,
Was it
no,
me?
this will really screw him up. So
Let's
ask him
go.
this one.
I
Yeah.
like
All
controversy.
right, there's one here that I know what the answer is going to be, but how much money does a dentist need to have in the bank to retire comfortably?
Okay. Let's quantify it this way. The most comfortable number, the most comfortable way to quantify this would be take what you spend in a whole year. All
Okay.
right. This is not true. Dentists spend triple this, but let's say it's $100,000 a year. Okay.
Right. Are you talking about personal or business?
Personal.
Personal. Okay.
What does it cost you over a whole year to live personally? That's your house, your utilities, your groceries, fixing the cars, medical bills, vacations, everything over a whole year.
Right.
Times that by at least 25. Times that by at least 25. And that is going to be the amount of money that you're going to need to have when you want to be done totally working, completely, like income shuts off.
Right.
That number is even more sustainable indefinitely if it's like at a 30 or above.
Okay.
So just those are some basic metrics. Somewhere in the 20s.
For sure you're going to say it depends. Next question.
Well, it always depends. So, for example, if someone's like, I'm retiring at 50.
Yeah.
Well, chances are you're going to live another 40 to 50 years. You better, and if you have no more money coming in as income, you better have a giant chunk of money. So I want to see that be 30x your annual spending. If you're 65, 67, maybe you have a 24x your annual spending, 23x your annual spending. That could be okay. And
I've never
these numbers,
heard that before. That's a great way to look at it, I think.
Well, and these numbers are based on, it's the way that we measure things. So we built an entire financial planning system in our company called the Elements. It looks like a periodic table of 12 different elements that it's where we like benchmark and measure someone's financial health in these different areas. And one of them is this exact question, which is, when do I have enough wealth to be totally done working? It's one of our measuring points, and that's how we do it. The reverse of this math comes from something called a withdrawal rate in our industry, which is like, what's the maximum amount percentage you could take from a portfolio without depleting it,
right?
And which is around 4%. So that's how we do the reverse of that math. But take what you spend in a year, times it by 25. That's a good baseline for like. That means that you're going to retire and then die with a lot of money still, though.
Yeah.
So there is,
at least it gives you somewhere to start, right? It's just
somewhere to start.
Yeah.
Somewhere to begin. If you're too much further, if you're too much lower than a 25x, you're going to start depleting your money. I mean, that's just going to happen. If you're above that 25, you're going to die and pass on money. That sounded morbid and dark, but you know.
I know, right?
One day when you go. You'll leave money behind if you're above a 25. So
right. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do that tonight. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna cry after I do that, but
maybe.
At least I'll know, right?
But see, the factor in there is your spending. So the lower you're spending, the lower that number is going to be. And I'm convinced this is the least sexy part of personal finance, but your personal spending is everything in retirement planning. And the less we need to live on, I just think the happier we are and the easier it is to hit that number. So,
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No new
Good
car
question.
for me this year then.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man. Jeez. No. All right. Another one that I get is, I don't know if you're going to know this one or not, but what's the minimum amount of cash you want to have on hand when pursuing a practice purchase?
Great. So if you're like an associate and a new grad trying to buy in,
right? Yeah.
Banks, this is a depend number, but banks typically, like if you've got $50,000 liquid accessible, 50 to 100 somewhere, it's just got to be accessible liquid, not sitting in a 401k or an IRA. Banks are going to want to see that. The
Okay.
more that you can have, especially these days when student loans are really high, practice
Yeah.
valuations are high, like people are trying to buy into like multi-million dollar practices, and the debt loads are big. So 50 grand, 75 to 100, push that. And so that means, though, and it's such a good question actually, because that means for a new grad or an associate, don't come out of school and just start chucking all of your extra money at your student loans. I know it sucks to hold those. They're gigantic. It feels like they'll never go away, and maybe they
Yeah.
won't. They'll just
Yeah.
tax bomb one day. But like, keep all of your extra money. This means it's more important than even investing money when you're an associate. Having a good chunk of liquid funds for a bank to feel comfortable lending to you is more important than anything in that part of your career. So, yeah,
Yeah.
really good question, actually.
Yeah.
Crucial
Cool.
too.
I don't know what this one means. Maybe you will, but what does elements financial planning mean, and how does it differ from typical planning?
Okay. Yeah, that's the system I was talking about.
Okay.
Reese Harper and I created that 10
Gotcha.
plus years ago. And just picture for the dentist listening, the chemistry class and the periodic table of elements that you had, little colorful blocks, and they have
Yeah. Yeah.
little couple letters and numbers in there. We built a table of 12 elements, and they measure, think of it like they're just indicators of your financial health in different areas. How well are you insured? How is your money invested? Where does your money go? How much goes to taxes or spending or debt? What's your net worth? How liquid are you? How much of your net worth is sitting in real estate or businesses? They're just indicators where when someone hires us as an advisor, we go through a process where we gather tons, every bit of data you can think of. We put it all into these dashboards, and then we populate our elements scorecards with these things. And then throughout the years, we meet with clients, we send out reports, and when we make decisions, we go to our element scorecards and we look at these numbers. Like, should I buy the building that I'm leasing, or should I continue leasing it? Well, let's look at some of your element scorecards
Yeah.
and see how that would affect us. Let's do some what if scenarios. And so the elements is just, it's something we created specifically for dentists, not anybody else, to track and measure and benchmark their financial health and progress as they move throughout their career, and giving us like a resource to go consult. Really, let's go consult the numbers before we make big decisions. That's what it's about. And
That's
so,
cool.
yeah, traditional
Kind of
financial
a
planning is usually just like reactive. And it's usually like there's a piece of software that's traditionally used called a Monte Carlo simulation. It's where you plug in a bunch of assumptions and you say, how long will my money last?
yeah.
They're helpful. You can highly manipulate all of the inputs to have the output tell you whatever you want it to say. So it's kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
funny. But the
Yeah.
elements are just, they're like real-time snapshot indicators of where you are financially and where you've been. And they give us a lot of questions to ask when we're making decisions,
And a
and
good visual representation of it too, I
very
think.
good visual.
Yeah.
Because you can just pull it up immediately and be like, all right, here's my scores.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They
That's
also
awesome.
help us benchmark to where you're at and where everyone else is
Yeah.
and what they should be. So, yeah,
Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
that's why we built it.
Yeah. 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 So what do you think is one financial myth, if there is one in dentistry, that just won't die? And how should listeners address it?
Okay. This might be controversial, so this is good for marketing.
That's
I would
right.
say a myth that you have to pay off all of your debt as a dentist to be financially successful. In today's world, I just don't think that's true or totally possible to do that soon. And let me just give you some context around that. Yeah, it'd be great if we were all debt free. I would love for all of my clients to pay off their debt and have no debt at all. But the reality is, let's just say, just from the practice perspective. Now, student loans might be another thing. I don't think people should be trying to rush to pay off their mortgages. I just don't believe that. Pay
Right.
off your cars, fine. Let's just say on the practice side of things, it's highly likely that if you go a whole career, let's say from your 30s to your 60s, 3 decades, it's highly likely that you are multiple times in that career span going to have to improve the practice. More ops, better equipment, improve
Right.
your space, build outs. It's just highly likely that's going to be the case. It is not efficient every time you have to do that, unless it's a small bill, like you need some hand pieces or something.
Yeah.
It's not efficient to go pull money out of your retirement accounts or just sit on cash to pay for those in cash along your whole career. And sometimes it's impossible because they're multi six-figure projects you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's also not healthy or good to just sit in an old practice with old equipment, old stuff, and then expect that someone's going to want to buy that dilapidated old thing. That was an old, that was like how it used to be done in the past, right?
Right.
People would just pay off their debt, let their practices run into the ground. They'd just be like old, shabby looking things. And then, so I don't think it's realistic that you'll go an entire career, if you're trying to keep the value of your practice up, that you'll be debt free. I just don't believe that. But retirement, like you were asking before, how much do you need to retire and be done? It's not a matter of debt free. You just have to have a high enough net worth after you have your assets and you subtract your debts. It just has to be big enough to sustain your personal spending indefinitely.
Right.
So plenty of dentists retire very wealthy with debt still on their balance sheet when they retire. And as they sell things, they pay things off, and it's okay.
As long as you can service the debt, right? And still.
Yeah. It's just it's a net worth game, which is where the word net comes from. After everything's subtracted, if you have enough, you have enough. And it is, in my opinion, it's worth it to still invest into your practice throughout your whole career so that it maintains its highest possible peak value. That's something I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for an hour, but we're going to have to wrap up here in a minute. If somebody wants to reach out to you, figure out what you do, maybe even, hire you, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah. Do two things. Go listen. Okay. Email me and get on my calendar. I'm the co-founder of the company. I've been a financial advisor this whole time. I have a very small book of clients. I don't take any more myself, but I do most of the intake calls. I like to meet people personally.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah, I'd like to hear their stories and make sure that where they're at and where they're going is something we even can help them with. If there's not something we can do, I'll be the first to tell them, like, we're not for you, at least right now. Yeah. Email me and let's get on my calendar. Let's have a conversation. My email is ryan@dentistadvisors.com. That's the easiest way to do it. ryan@dentistadvisors.com. The second thing in the meantime would be, I think it's healthy to get to know the company you might be hiring. And the best way to do that for us is we've had a podcast, at least one episode a week for 10 years straight. It's called The Dentist Money Show. It's on our website. It's been a long time, man. Yeah. So dentistadvisors.com, we have probably thousands of hours of free content, but the podcast has every topic and episode you can think of. Click on something. You'll hear our tone, our personality, the way we think about things, our philosophy, and then email me, get on my calendar. Let's have a chat. And that's probably the best way to do it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate this. And I'd love to, if we can, maybe in 2 or 3 months, do a follow-up to this, because I know that people are going to eat this stuff up because, it's just anything niche specific like this with financial health, I think, is hugely valuable. So
totally, man. Be happy to.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely do a follow-up here in a couple of months and just see how things are going and go from there. But
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. And everybody, thanks again for joining. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, whatever you want to do there, so that when we drop a new episode, you're notified first. But for Ryan and myself, appreciate all of the feedback that we've gotten during the interview here, and we look forward to answering any questions that come through. If you send me some questions or you comment somewhere, I'll make sure we forward that on to Ryan and he can respond too. So, Ryan, thanks again, and thanks everybody else for joining today.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Dental Marketing Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.kickstartdental.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you are ready to grow your practice, then you might want to schedule a free strategy session with us. Just go to kickstartdental.com and click the free strategy session button and give us 15 minutes of your time to change your practice forever. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Podcast by Kickstart Dental Marketing, where dentists go to win online.